Okay, welcome to today's studio armor review. I'm going to go over my Tau, basically suits. I call these the weapon systems because that's really what they are. Obviously, this this Riptide you're looking at. I really kind of bought this one on a lark. I wasn't. It was one of those things where everyone was having them. Everyone was talking about how important they were to make the Tau. Again, back in the 6th edition time frame, competitive, and you needed them. So I went ahead and bought one, and I actually fell in love with the model. It's really a lot of fun to put together. I've actually magnetized the weapon systems so that it would be possible to swap out the weapons that I needed to. Even the smart missile systems on top and what have you, they're all magnetized. The thing about the Riptide is that I never use those drones. They came with the kit, I built them, but I'd never ever use them because with the 25% casualty rule causing a morale check, I don't want to lose a drone, which is why they're there, is, ablative wounds. I figure instead of spending the money on a drone that could cause me to have a morale check that I could fail and force me to bounce back, I'll just get stim injectors. 35 points versus, I think it's 50 or 25 for that drone. I think it's 25 for that drone. So 2 drones get me 2 ablative wounds, while stim injectors gets me about the same amount for 35 points instead of 50. So I usually roll with the stim injectors when I have the points. My typical loadout for the Riptide is the ion accelerator. That's why it's displayed there. But I do have the heavy barrel burst cannon. That particular one is actually also used on a model I built to serve as a what do you call this thing? The anti-aircraft mount that goes with the fortifications. So I typically use the ion accelerator and a smart missile system. The reason for that is that I want the extra shots that ignore cover, because it has a lot of flexibility. And granted, it won't do much against vehicles, but against pretty much everything else, it's going to be able to do some wounds, and it ignores cover saves. So, Tyranids, it helps. Guard, it helps. Anytime you're putting out more wounds, you're forcing more saves, which means you're forcing the chance for more failures. Especially when you Nova Charge and give it Ripple Fire. That's 8 Strength 5, AP 5 shots, twin length, so pretty useful. When I feel particularly aggressive, or I know I'm going to go up against an opponent who's likely to bring a lot of vehicles, I will throw a Fusion Blaster on there, a twin length Fusion Blaster. I'm not one for the twin linked plasma rifles because those are kind of a do-it-all type of a weapon. Yeah, they're great AP, so they're good against Terminators. They're Strength 6, they're good against monstrous creatures. Nice, rapid fire. 24-inch range is pretty good, but it's still only 1 shot at 24 inches, 2 shots at 12. I don't know. I don't think, for me, I don't think they really feel right. I do like the smart missiles of the Fusion Blasters a little better. I go more with the specialist loadouts. Now, one thing I will often do, and another reason I take those smart missile systems, is one of the very first things I'll put on this as a weapon system or support system is the velocity tracker. Now, if I Ripple Fire, I'll have 8 Strength 5, AP 5 anti-aircraft shots. And I don't usually do Interceptor, just because I want to have that stim injector there. But if I feel like I need to, stim injectors out the window, and I'll get the early warning override, so I'll get the intercept. And again, intercepting when you're ripple firing those smart missile systems against a flyer, most of which are Strength 10 or Armor 10, Eldar and Orc, even the rear of I think even the front, I think the rear and the front of the Tau flyer. Now, of course, Space Marine flyers are all too strong for that. That's not going to do much. But then I'll just use my ion accelerator and use AP2, Strength 7, 3 shots. I think that's good against Space Marine flyers. So that's how you typically use my Riptide. Now, The one thing I have done, and I'll admit to this now, is I figured out how to put it into a combined arms attachment in a 500 point game. I have never used it. I just know that it can be done. So I just think that would be very mean. And I know there are people who probably would do something like that. It's that competitive streak in me that kind of made me kind of pursue trying to figure out how to do that. And I can tell you, if playing Tau, especially now with the new codex, with the bonuses they give you, it's almost not fun anymore. So generally, I won't dumb down my list, but I won't use their overpowered formations. I'll stick with a cadre. Sorry, not the cadre. A combined arms attachment. Stick with my regular units, and one formation I'll talk about in my Rignon Studio Army Tactica video. All right, the most prominent suit type unit though in a Tau army is definitely it's Crisis Suits. Now I only have 5 models. I bought one came with my initial starter set, and he was my commander. And I decided to magnetize him early on because I did not want to build him with a certain weapon option since I was just learning, and I wanted to try different weapon options out. And I realized that there's no way I'm going to be able to afford all the different Crisis Suit combinations that I may want to run. So all of these are magnetized. As a commander, he has 4 systems, so he has 4 magnets, 1 on each arm, 1 on each shoulder. This is also a more current attempt at commander. This is my first suit model, so it's basically built right out of the box, nothing fancy. This one I did some posing and changed out the head, but it also has 4 weapon system mounts. All the others have only 3, 1 on the shoulder and 1 on each arm. And the advantage of this is that for all of these I can pop off all of the gear. I rarely ever am not with a drone controller. And then I've got a box of magnetized weapon systems. So if I want, I can swap out a couple fusion blasters and I'm good to go. Or feel like it. One of the loadouts I like to do on some of these is I'll actually go with a couple missile pods. So throwing down missile pods at long range, that's annoying from a commander that sits in the back of the field. So I do have some pulse rifles, or sorry, plasma rifles kitted out, but I don't think I've used them but maybe once. I do prefer the other weapons loadouts, even if it is just a pair of those burst cannons. But often what I'll do is, on the commander, I'll take the command and control node, so I can get that reroll misses. And then the only other weapon system I'll give him will be a flamer. That's it. Because my commander will typically be a support commander. Now, one of the reasons I'm glad I have 2 is back in the day, the old codex, they used to have a Shazo and a Shazel, slightly lower rank. So what I typically do is I'll build out my Shazel with my drone controller and the flamer, and that's it. And he just sits there with 2 marker drones as war gear and joins a squad of 4 marker drones. And he just provides the support to make sure the markers are on the targets they need to be. Now sometimes I'll even use I'll put the command and control node on them so that I'll almost guarantee 6 marker lights on the target unit. And then what I'll do then is I'll get my Shaz-O commander. Again, no difference in stat line, they're both commanders. And I will give him the special systems, and he'll join my crisis team back there. So if I'm expecting to go tank hunting, I'll mount a few of them up with fusion blasters. And maybe I'll mount up one up with a couple with burst cannons like I've got here. And that way I've got anti-infantry, anti-tank. But one of my favorite loadouts though really is the double fusion blaster against any type of tank. That really is deadly. And so, just a matter of swapping out. And the beauty of it is, whether it's a three-man unit or four, with the extra, having all those that AP1 Strength 8 Armor Bane, but almost Armor Bane, it's Melta. You can do a lot of tank popping, especially if you give any of these guys a support system target lock. That would allow everyone else to kind of split their fire at different targets, make it just that much more likely you're going to pin something and blow it up. So, but when I do have this commander assigned, what I will do with him is give him the PureTide Engram chip. That way, not only is he able to give, if I have the command and control node on him, re-rolled to the weapons that are not twin linked, because I never twin link my fusion blasters. He'll also have the tank hunter rule he can give him, so that makes him real powerful if he drops in with his squad. Back up with a whole bunch of drones, and well, that's just a devastating little fire team. So that's how I typically use my two commanders. He'll also have iridium armor if I'm using him. If I'm not using him, and I only have the what's typically called the Batmander, which is the drone controller, command and control node, and the flamer just for defense. I'll give him the iridium armor, and he'll be a warlord. So toughness 5, AP 2 or armor 2. That's really useful. So that's kind of how I roll with the crisis suits. Let's throw that back on there, a little shield. Okay, now one of my favorite units in the Tau Army are the stealth suits, and not because of the rules, it's just the concept. I really love the concept of a active camo on these suits. Now, I originally got the set of the XV-25s when they came. Of course, they came with the marker drone, but I was able to get a from one. What was it? What do they call them? Finecast. They were still selling these XV-15 suits. They remade them from metal into Finecast, and I went ahead and got a set of those. So again, that's another way I got another marker drawn out of them. And those are, I usually use them in two separate units. Fantastic equipment. Now, none of these have swappable weapons. When I first got the XV-25s, I was having trouble figuring out how to use the fusion blasters properly, and it just took a while, because I was new to the game. Well, now I know. So when I first built these, they're all burst cannon, and I don't really have a problem with that. But when I have the next set, I want to make 2 of those fusion blasters swappable, magnetized. Now the XV-15s, those come without. They come built the way they are with the burst cannons. They don't have a fusion cannon or a fusion blaster option, so I left them the way they are. The only thing I tried to do is I tried to figure out a way to put a drone controller on there. Ended up not doing it. I'm glad I didn't, because I never use drone controllers on those. If I do bring 2 drones, it's 2 drones, and that's cool. They don't need increased ballistic skill. They hit just as often as these suits themselves, so I don't need to have a drone controller to increase the ballistic skill by 1. I'll leave that for my commander. So now these I'll use quite extensively with one of 2 approaches to them. Often what I'll do is I'll have them outflank instead of deep strike, and I will put a positional relay on one of the models, and then that way, if it's on both units and both are in reserve, I'm likely going to at least get one of them in, and then I'll bring them in. Doesn't matter which side, I'll bring them on within 6 inches of the enemy's table edge, and then every outflanking unit after that comes on the enemy's table edge. So that's one of the reasons I use those heavily, is from an outflanking 4-shot strength 5 AP5. They're going to wreck some armor, because they usually be able to come in. If one unit comes in, off that package. Both units come in on the same turn. The second one is coming in behind those tanks, and having 12 shots going into the back armor, 6 hitting. 2 of those are going to pen, or glance or pen, on a normal roll. You throw 1 marker light on there, half the time it's going to wreck a tank. So there's a lot of potential for really hosing down some enemy tanks. And if they tend to squadron up, and the commander marker lights the squadron, and these guys coming behind it, that can be a few dead tanks. So really good investment. So again, I'll cover the details more, how to pull all that off, and how to build out a force in my Rignon Tactica video. All right. Now, the last unit I have is right here. This is my what I would call sort of an old school broadside. Now, what I've done on this is it's really just a crisis suit, but I did get, back when they were fine scale was still available, these are the fine scale upgrade for the broadside upgrade. They used to be metal. They made them for a very, very short time as fine scale, and I got them. Now what I did is I've got magnets on this too. Fine scale came with a couple different head options for the commander. And see, is this? Yeah, it's loose. That's all. Yeah, see, it fits in there like a socket. So what I did is on this, I've got the kit, glued the arms, the guns underneath. That's kind of some of the Forge World builds are very, very much like that. And I kind of like the look. It kind of looks top heavy when the guns are sitting up on the shoulders. So here, I cut the back end down to put the grate, the grill. And one thing I noticed is that when these were mounted below, there was no room for those the extended grills, so I had to cut both of them down quite severely to actually make this one. But I still like the look of it a lot better. And I can always, it's with the magnets up there, there's the smart missile system. So whether I want to put the smart missiles on there or plasma rifles, I'm good to go. And typically I will use the plasma rifles, because to me that's a good complement. If he does move, there's 2 strength 6 shots going down range. If he doesn't move, that is 4 shots potentially, or no, 6 shots. It's at least 4 shots. It could be 6. 2 at AP 1, strength 8. 2 at AP 2, strength 6. So that could do some wreckage, especially against monstrous creatures. So in the new formation they've got for, I forget what it's called. Again, I don't use them much, but they finally give, the formation gives everything relentless, so this unit finally will be able to move and shoot normally, even with those rail rifles being heavy. I kind of like that particular rule, but I don't actually have enough models to do that entire formation plus some other things I want to do, so I just leave him on the back in my deployment zone, just popping vehicles or popping whatever tries to come its way. So those are the suit systems I've got, and basically a box of wardrobe. This is my weapons locker. I've got all the different types of weapons that go with the whether it's from the commander kit or my regular kits. Those are plenty of interchangeable parts. So I could pretty much kit these stealth suits, or silent stealth suits, but the crisis suits out any way I need to, as long as supplies last, basically. And so that's the bulk of my suit army. And so let me know what you think. I'm especially interested now that the Tau can have 8 crisis suits in their unit. What are you guys' thoughts on if you play Tau? Would you bother with more than 3? I typically run 1, individual monads or squads of 3, like the old rules used to have. Now with 8, I don't know, that's a pretty big death bomb, especially if you give them all target lock. They can all shoot at different targets. That's pretty amazing. So I don't know, I'm still thinking on it. Again, not particularly liking the new rules for Tau. I'll stick with the old, not the old rules, but the old tactics and the old loadouts and the old way of doing things, because I seem to be pretty successful with that. Don't really need the extra benefits. So share, like, subscribe, comment below, and let me know if any of these models you want me to go into more detail on in a model showcase. Don't know if there's anything I really haven't covered. And I will see you in the next one where I cover the flyers that I have. All right, thanks. Have a good day. Bye-bye.